Hello, Dr. Chips here, and thanks for joining me for another computing lesson. Now in this video, we're going to create our own maths program in ScratchJr to help you or other pupils in your class recap 2D shapes, because with lockdown we might have forgotten about them. And by creating this in ScratchJr, it will help us recap our computing too. Double win. Today's lesson is going to be in two halves. We're going to start by creating the algorithm for our program, and then we're going to turn that algorithm into code in ScratchJr. So first things first, it's time to check if you remember what an algorithm is. When I say I want you to pause me, not just yet, and discuss with your partner everything you can remember about algorithms. What are they and what examples can you give me? Okay, pause me in 3, 2, 1, pause. Wow, well done everyone. As you said, an algorithm is a precise, which means very clear, sequence of instructions or set of rules for getting something done. So examples might include recipes that you can follow, or classroom rules that you have to follow, or the instructions for doing the science experiment. Today we're going to write the algorithm which precisely describes what's going to happen in your maths program. So let me share my program with you to give you an idea of what we're going to be creating. Ta-da! Here is my completed program. Now as you can see, I've got lots of different 2D shapes on the background, and watch what happens when I push one of these. How cool is that? It says the name of the shape and gives information about the number of corners and sides to help us in case we've forgotten. And just so that we know which shape we've pushed, it does a little spin as well. So you're going to code a program just like this one. But as I said, your first job will be to create your algorithm. And for this, you'll need a copy of the worksheet, which should appear behind me now. Now you can get this from the link below in the description, so go and download it and print it off if you haven't done already. But I suppose you could actually just use a piece of blank paper as well, but I was trying to make things easier for you. Your task is going to be to write the algorithm to clearly explain what's going to happen in your program when each of the shapes are touched. So you can see in my algorithm, I said that when we touch the triangle, it's going to say this is a triangle has 3 corners and 3 sides, and then it's going to spin clockwise. Okay, one last thing before you pause me to go and write your algorithm. Just to help you remember the kind of things we can do with our shapes in ScratchJr, I'm going to jump back into ScratchJr, give you a quick 30-second demo, because this will help you give you ideas for what you're going to write in your algorithm. Okay, super quick reminder of the kind of things we can do in ScratchJr. So starting with the movement commands, these are the blue commands. We could get our shape, I'm actually just going to use the cat here, which is loaded up with, we call these sprites. We could get our sprite here to move to the right, or we could get it to move to the right and then back to the left, or we could get it to move up and down. Well, it kind of looks like it's jumping. In fact, there is actually a jump command. It's this one here. And you can change the size of these commands by tapping in the number at the bottom there and changing it. Let's go for 9 and see how high our cat jumps. Look at that. We've also got turn clockwise or turn anti-clockwise. So you might want to get your shape to spin one way or the other. Those are the movement commands. There are also the purple looks commands as well. This is the command where we can actually get it to say things in a speech bubble, such as the name of the shape and the number of sides and corners it's got. We can also get it to grow in size or shrink in size. So there we go, there's a super quick revision of the kind of things we can do in ScratchJr. Think about what you're going to write in your algorithm that your shapes are going to do when the player touches them. So after that little recap, it's now over to you. It's time to pause me and write the algorithm which will describe precisely what will happen when someone touches each of the shapes in your program. welcome back and well done everyone. So now you've got your algorithms, it's time to turn these into code. Back to ScratchJr. So the first step is that we actually need to draw the shapes that we're going to use in our program. And these shapes are examples of sprites. And sprites are objects or characters that we can code to do things in our program. So we're not going to use the cat. So the first thing we need to do is push our finger on the cat until it wobbles and the red cross comes up, or rather white cross in a red circle, and click on that, get rid of that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on the plus to add a new sprite, and we're going to go to the top right where there is the paintbrush because we're going to draw our own sprite. Now, first of all, the first 2 or 3 or even 4 shapes are quite easy to draw because there are actually some tools in our paint editor here to help us draw things like circles and squares, and we can use that to draw a rectangle and a triangle as well. So let me just show you, starting with the circle. If I click on that second tool down on the left hand side, this will help us draw a circle. So I'm just going to just do it quickly here and get it nice and circular and fill it with a color. Let's go for a nice green. There we go. Okay, so there's my circle. Next up, I'm going to do a square. So I click on that cross again and click on paintbrush again, and we're going to do a square. Now take your time, make sure your square is square. We've got square background on here, like squared paper, so we can carefully make sure that it is square. So that is 4 across and 4 down. There we go. And I'm going to make that a nice blue. There we go. Then we can use the square tool again, but this time we can make a rectangle by making it, say, 1 across and 4 down, and I'm going to fill that. By the way, each time I'm filling it, I'm using that fill tool in the bottom right there. It looks like a bucket of paint being poured in to fill up this shape. Let's go, oh, that's a nice purple. There we go. And then the following shapes on our sheet are a little bit trickier. So we've got the pentagon and the hexagon as well. And by the way, just before I draw these two, can you see that all the shapes that are coming in are landing in the middle of our program? So let's just separate those out. Now we're going to have a go at drawing. Let's go for the hexagon next. So click on the plus, click top right. And what you need to do this time is you need to click on the draw tool, and then you need to carefully draw each of the sides of the hexagon. Now it's a little bit tricky, and I'm holding my iPad up so you can see at the camera. Let's see if I can manage it. If I can't, I'm sorry, but it's a good task for you to have a go at focusing on and drawing a really good pentagon and hexagon. So here we go. Let's have a go. So one side, side, 3, 4. In fact, this helps us to remember. Oh, that wasn't quite long enough. There we go. Take your time, draw each side. Oh, that wasn't very good there, was it? You can do a much better hexagon than me. That's a bit of an irregular, wonky hexagon, but I'm sure you're going to be able to do a better job than I have there. But that shows you how to go about drawing each of your shapes in ScratchJr. So then we've got those ready to code them to do what our algorithm said they would do when somebody comes along and touches each one of them. Okay, over to you. Brilliant! Wow, we're flying through this today. Now, the second and final task for you today is to turn your algorithm into code. So let me show you how I added the code for the triangle, which I showed you earlier. Let me just remind you that my algorithm for that triangle said that when somebody touches it, it's going to say this is a triangle, it has 3 sides and 3 corners, and then it was going to spin clockwise. So let me show you how I coded that in ScratchJr. So when you're turning your algorithm into code, a top tip is to break your algorithm down and code a bit at a time. We call this decomposition. So if we remember with my triangle, the first part of the algorithm was that when it's touched, and actually I know that this command here can be used to run our program when we touch the sprite. We said that it was going to say this is a triangle, so let's go for a say block and edit this. Let's see if I can edit this with one hand. Apologies if I don't get my capitals. Oh, I did. This is a triangle. Then it was going to say a triangle has 3 corners and 3 sides, so we want another say command. Triangle has 3 corners and 3 sides. So that's our important information about the properties of the 2D shape. And then it was going to spin clockwise. So I can go into the movement blocks and I can get the clockwise block there, and I'm going to change it because I want it to spin a bit more than that. So now let's test my code. I'm going to touch the triangle like so, and it says this is a triangle. A triangle has 3 corners and 3 sides, and then is it going to rotate clockwise? Yes, perfectly matches my algorithm. Now, a top tip is to regularly run and test your code as you're doing it, because then if you have made a mistake and there's a mistake in your code, we call that a bug, we can find it and we can fix it, and we call that debugging. Okay, now it's over to you. It's your turn to turn your algorithm into code for each of your shapes in ScratchJr to create your maths program. And when you're done, have a play on it, and have a play on your friends too, because it will help you remember those important properties of 2D shapes. Have fun!